News about Epic Store exclusivity is so frequent and so consistently contentious that quite fittingly, I could turn my entire YouTube channel into an Epic Store exclusive. I could pivot my content to only talk about the Epic Store, and I'd have enough material to see me through the year. I'm not gonna do that, I'll get bored, but I could if I wanted to. Anyway, on that note, another game has gone Epic exclusive, a timed exclusive. When it launches, it will come out on the Epic Store for PC, and it'll hit up the Xbox One as well for console, but as we say, on PC, you'll only be able to get it in one place. And this runs counter to what was said when the game was getting crowdfunded. Yes, like Phoenix Point, we have another crowdfunded game going onto the Epic Store with a timed exclusive, and that went over about as well as you could expect. The game in question is Outer Wilds. No, not the Outer Worlds, that's a different game. That's already gone Epic Store exclusive. This is Outer Wilds, it's unrelated. It's a significantly smaller game than something made by Obsidian, but despite its small size, I do want to talk about it because it is a crowdfunded game like Phoenix Point was, and that's, to me, an interesting discussion to be had, because people crowdfund these games with certain expectations, and if those expectations aren't met, people are liable to get very annoyed about it. Perhaps wisely deciding not to do a YouTube video like the Phoenix Point team did, the Outer Wilds development team posted an update to their crowdfunding page on fig.co. Is it fig.co? Yeah. What's fig.com then? Well, that's taking forever to load. This don't matter. Anyway, point is they posted an update on fig.co. I've been calling it fig.com this. I don't use Fig. I used Kickstarter before, and I've used Indiegogo once or twice, but I don't really use Fig. I don't trust websites named after mulberries. Where many developers trip over themselves trying to tell their audience about the benefits of Epic Store exclusivity, often in a somewhat apologetic tone, Mobius Digital here have simply laid out the facts as is, saying,
Outer Wilds will first be released on Xbox One and on PC via the Epic Games Store, with additional platforms coming later. Rest assured that we read all of your comments, and our goal is to bring the game to your preferred platform as quickly as possible. We will keep you up to date with the latest info here. Throughout the development of the game, we've welcomed helpful partnerships with Annapurna Interactive, Xbox and Epic to support us and keep our small studio running long enough to ship the game at the level of quality that it is today. Each of these partnerships has enabled us to make the game better and more accessible for everyone who will play it. We greatly appreciate the support that you have given us over the years, even when we weren't able to share all the details going on behind the scenes. We'll share an update on the release date soon. We thank you for sticking with us, and we look forward to seeing you.
Slow down voices are funny. So yeah, that didn't go over well. That didn't go over well at all. Let's have a look at the comments, because everyone likes to look at angry comments, don't they? Yes, you do. Don't pretend you're above it, you sly little turnips. This is what you want. This is what you all want. I've not been happy about past Epic Store exclusives due to the typical reasons, a huge lack of features compared to Steam, splitting my library, but it didn't bother me too much because I could simply choose not to purchase those games, thereby voting with my dollar and not supporting a company I didn't like. Now this, I am furious. Say goodbye to any remaining goodwill you had from me. Pulling this bait and switch at the last moment after 4 years of development and my money long gone is not kosher. As much as I sympathise with the frustrated regarding Epic Store exclusivity, some of the comments are written with a flair for the melodramatic. I'll read this one. Fair warning, it gets a bit spicy. Mobius Digital has betrayed my trust, which I firmly held from 2015 to today. It blatantly betrayed my trust by complying with a predatory company hell-bent on raping the consumer for their money. Oh dear. I have requested a refund and I will refrain from purchasing any products that this company releases. I do not and will never want to play something that is a symbol of malicious intent towards myself and other consumers. This comment is more down to earth and sympathetic, I think. Very disappointed with Epic exclusivity. I've been looking forward to this game since that public beta demo released years and years ago. As one of your earliest fans, it sucks that I have to wait even longer to play on my platform of choice. If this was made clear when I was choosing to back this game, that's one thing, but changing it up so close to being done, really crappy. Now, by all accounts, this game's been in development for about 10,000 years, so I don't think that we could know years and years ago that it was going to go Epic Store exclusive. You know, its crowdfunding campaign succeeded in 2015, but nonetheless, as I've said regarding Phoenix Point before, when you're crowdfunding a game, you've got to be super duper soaker careful with how you present that game once it's been funded, because you're going to be under far more scrutinous a microscope than pretty much any other type of funded game. You've got the public's money in your hands at that point, and the public care very much about whether or not that money is being used appropriately. Even if it is, the perception that it's not could cause a major shitstorm. And that's how people are processing an indie game that's been crowdfunded going onto the Epic Store to get all of that financial incentive off of Epic. It leaves people wondering, well, what the hell was I funding? And that may not be an entirely fair assessment. The developer may have utilised all of its crowdfunding perfectly, may have done everything that needed to be done, but game development is expensive. Sometimes things come up that couldn't have been anticipated, and an infusion of extra cash might be needed. That's happened with many crowdfunded games before, with various responses from the crowd depending on the circumstances. Nonetheless, if this was about needing more money, one has to ask, well, what would have happened if the Epic Store wasn't around? Outer Wilds has been on Fig since 2015, long before the Epic Store was a thing, and if they needed that money sooner, or if the Epic Store hadn't emerged yet, well, where would we be? And if they didn't explicitly need the money and they're just taking it for the extra cash, well, that again leads to that perception of improper use of funds. People wonder, where did my money go? What was I backing? And besides all this, the simple fact of the matter is, people backed this game and were told it was coming to Steam, and they've been told that for years. And we're in yet another situation where a game is close to being done, and there's been an alteration in the deal, which, however way you want to justify it, is always going to look shitty to a significant portion of people. But is it a significant portion enough for this to financially impact the game? And that's clearly the calculations that are being run by all of these developers who are getting into bed with Epic. They're weighing the bad will, the negative public response, against the potential to make money. And it's an interesting situation because the Epic Store has been successful for games so far. So they're clearly calculating that it's worth it. They'll take the PR hit, they'll take their lumps now, and they will make the cash nonetheless at the point of launch. And I've always said that I understand indie games taking the deal. I understand an indie studio wanting that timed exclusive on the Epic Store, and I don't judge them quite on the same level as I do with a game backed by a AAA publisher that's got enough money to put the game everywhere, and has way more of a mainstream impact to where their decision to go exclusive says a lot more about the industry than an indie game does. On the contrary, indie games struggle to make an impact. They struggle to get noticed, especially on Steam, where market saturation has drowned a lot of them out. That's why many developers jumped ship to the Switch when that opened its arms and embraced indie games. It was somewhere where they could potentially get noticed. And I want to talk about this game in particular because it is such a small game. Now, many might think, well, it's so small, why even bother talking about it? But that's what interests me about it, because it is so small. Because a game like Metro Exodus, that was always going to make money, and it was always going to succeed, and it probably got a lot of people to download the Epic launcher. But these smaller games with smaller communities, particularly these crowd-funded games that have very clear, defined, somewhat limited but very passionate audiences, whether they succeed or fail on the Epic launcher will say a lot, I believe. I really want to see how Phoenix Point does. I really want to see how Outer Wilds does. Because if there is a breaking point, if there is a moment where the money money you get from Epic will not be worth the ill will you breed from your audience. I think we're going to see it with those types of games, and if we don't see it with those types of games, well then the Epic Store has truly won. If that happens, then the message will be quite clear. Outside of an initial PR shitstorm, there will be no downsides to going Epic exclusive. The only real downsides to talk about at that point would be the purely hypothetical, claiming that the game would sell more if it was available on more platforms at launch, but considering they're timed exclusives, it's not really a theory we could test, outside of going to an alternate reality where the game is on all the platforms to see how it does then. So we won't know how well these games do for a while, but the crowdfunded games going Epic Store exclusive, it's not a good look. It's really not a good look, and I do understand people getting pissed off about it, but whether or not that matters in the long run, that's something that we're just going to have to sit and watch play out.